On a chilly spring morning, the soft cries of newborn kittens broke the stillness of John and Lisa's quiet backyard. Beneath the rusted shell of their old, unused car, a mother cat had given birth to 4 tiny kittens. Lisa was the first to discover them when she went outside to hang laundry. Her heart melted at the sight of the little family huddled together for warmth. She decided to name them Sonic, a tabby with stripes that reminded her of speed; Loki, a dark-coated rascal who always seemed mischievous even as a baby; Pumpkin, an orange furball with the color of autumn leaves; and Nikki, the smallest, whose quiet mews barely reached her ears. Every day, Lisa brought food for the mother cat and her babies, watching as the kittens grew stronger. Sonic and Pumpkin were the boldest, playfully pawing at Lisa's fingers. Loki often pounced on Pumpkin's tail, while Nikki timidly stayed close to their mother. But Lisa noticed something odd. John wasn't as thrilled about their presence. He grumbled about stray animals, about the mess they might make, and how the car was already an eyesore without being a cat shelter. 2 weeks passed, and the kittens were just beginning to open their eyes to the world. But one morning, the mother cat didn't return. Lisa waited all day, hoping she'd come back, but as night fell, the kittens began to cry, their tiny bodies shivering without her warmth. The next day, Lisa found Loki lying still beneath the car. His fragile body had been too weak to survive without his mother's milk. Nikki followed shortly after, leaving Sonic and Pumpkin the only survivors. Lisa tried to care for them as best as she could, feeding them milk from a small bottle, but tension grew in the house. John was furious. He accused Lisa of spending too much time and money on the kittens when they were already struggling financially. Their arguments became louder and more frequent, until one day, John stormed out. When he returned, he packed his belongings, leaving Lisa alone in the house. The next day, when Lisa went outside to feed the kittens, she found the car empty. Panic rose in her chest as she called out their names, Sonic, Pumpkin, but there was no response. John, in his bitterness, had taken the kittens and dumped them in a nearby alley. The dumpster was overflowing, and Sonic and Pumpkin managed to scramble out, frightened and disoriented. The cold, unforgiving world of the city greeted them with harsh noises, flashing lights, and indifferent faces. They were too young to understand what had happened or why their safe, warm home was gone. All they knew was hunger. At first, they mewed loudly, hoping their mother might hear and return for them. But their cries only attracted annoyed glances from passersby. People hissed at them to go away, some even throwing stones or bottles to chase them off. Sonic and Pumpkin learned quickly to hide, scurrying beneath parked cars or behind trash bins when someone approached. Days turned into weeks. The kittens survived by rummaging through garbage, eating scraps of spoiled food that made their tiny stomachs ache. Sometimes, when they were too weak to search, they lapped up filthy water from puddles in the street. Rain soaked their fur, and they shivered through cold nights, huddled together for warmth. Sonic often groomed Pumpkin's fur, trying to comfort her as she whimpered in her sleep. When winter came, the city turned crueler. Snow blanketed the streets, and food became even harder to find. Sonic and Pumpkin took shelter beside a trash can near a busy market, where the air was slightly warmer from the bustling activity. But they were invisible to the people who walked by, their small, starving bodies blending into the shadows. One day, as they scavenged near a park, Pumpkin's eyes lit up. She saw a woman sitting on a bench with her pet cat, a well-fed tabby with a shiny coat. The woman laughed as she fed treats to her cat and stroked its fur. Pumpkin, longing for the warmth and love they had lost, darted across the street, her little paws slipping on the icy pavement. "Sonic," she meowed. "Maybe she'll help us." But before Sonic could stop her, a young man on a bike came speeding down the path. He didn't see Pumpkin, or perhaps he didn't care. The sound of the collision was sharp and final. Sonic froze as Pumpkin's small body tumbled to the side of the road. The woman on the bench didn't notice. She was too busy laughing with her cat. Sonic raced to Pumpkin, nudging her with his nose and licking her fur, but she didn't move. Her eyes stared blankly ahead, the light gone. Now alone, Sonic wandered the streets aimlessly. He no longer played or meowed for help, knowing it only brought anger and cruelty. But every time he saw someone with a pet cat, his heart ached. He remembered the warmth of his sister beside him, the way they used to chase each other, even when their bodies were weak. One rainy evening, Sonic found himself near a bustling cafe. Through the window, he saw a family laughing together, their children playing with a fluffy white cat. Sonic sat in the cold, wet street, watching them with tears streaming down his face. He meowed softly, a last desperate cry for kindness, but no one looked his way. His body grew weaker as the days passed. One night, he curled up beneath a bench in the park where Pumpkin had died. The snow fell heavier than ever, covering his thin frame. As his eyes closed for the final time, he dreamed of warmth, of Pumpkin, of their mother, and of Lisa's gentle hands stroking his fur.